This guy here.
You guys sick of it? Okay. Hi, it's Corey Sika, and I'm here with David Horowitz and Ivan Alter, and this is the Environmental Review Board with Dennis Crowley. Hi, welcome back. Should we look at the minutes? Do we have minutes from last one? The whole minutes were us doing whatever, right? Not that.
Yeah, this was from, basically, you guys, finally, we were all caught up, you approved 4 sets of minutes at that meeting. And then this was from their first, which I called an informal appearance from 512 Millwood Road, which Felicia drafted up. I reviewed, made some edits, and basically this is the draft version, and you guys just have to approve. I know I sent this to you.
I don't hear a motion to approve those.
I would move to approve those minutes.
Good look at that.
Yes.
I need a second on that motion. Great, second, as you said. All in favor? Great, yay, thank you.
All right.
And now we have one person on the agenda, you wanna kick it off, guys?
Sure, so I'll let Steve, I guess, take over. I know that, we had some comments, they submitted a revised plan, includes some tree replacement, which really is more under my jurisdiction for the tree removal permit, wetland, mitigation, along the plan. I know that 2 of the 3 members here have seen the property and saw the existing conditions. So I guess I'll turn it over to you as to what is proposed.
Very good, thank you, Dennis. Good evening, Steve Marino, Tim Miller Associates. I'm here with the applicants, the Vogelers this evening, and Frank. So if you recall, the proposal is for replacement of an existing garage, relocation of the garage actually outside of the buffer, and realignment of an existing driveway to better access the new building, as well as create more of a front yard kind of area for the property owners. One of the discussions we had last meeting was regarding alternatives, were there any feasible alternatives that could be looked at that were either less disturbance or further away from the line. One of the things that was asked about was coming in immediately off of the driveway and to the right, to put the driveway, the garage up in here. But there's a septic system right there, and you saw, if you've been on the site, if you went to the site walk, you saw how steep that was, and you see that, so that's not really a feasible alternative there. We did provide, I don't know if you folks got this in your packages, we did provide a couple other alternatives that were just similar, just a little bit different, and we provided an explanation as to why those didn't meet the objectives of the property owners compared to what the actual proposal is. Our alternative A comes in very close to the house. It's a steeper climb on the first part of it, and then it leaves a smaller area for pulling in and turning out of the garage. The second one is kind of halfway spaced between the property line and the house. This one would require more earthwork actually, because you're on a slope, you have a cut fill situation where there's more disturbance in the buffer for that application, for that scenario. And again, then you're coming straight into the garage, backing out becomes a little bit of a tricky thing. So those are those combined with the actual proposal, which is shown here on this first sheet. Is closer to the bottom of the slope, near to the property line. As we discussed in the past, we did identify a small area, a little depressional area where there are some wetland plants growing, so that was identified as a town regulated wetland. And there's a dry ditch, a stormwater conveyance that leads out of there towards the small turnaround area at the end of the driveway and through a culvert under into a wetland further down and across from the property. Well, one of the questions that came up was, could we, and what we're proposing as part of the mitigation is the creation of this area here. I think there's a utility plan that probably shows it in more detail, which would be a stormwater infiltration system. Hardship engineer's been on the site, done soil testing. The soils are deep, the soils percolate very well. So the idea is to create an infiltration system there for the runoff off the new driveway, as well as the garage. That would be an underground system. So once that's installed, it'll be revegetated, reseeded on top, and you won't know it's there. So it won't be any long-term impact to the buffer or to the wetland once that's installed. In fact, that'll be providing discharge into the groundwater. And if there is any groundwater infiltration into that, wetland system there, that would, add additional hydrology to that system there. So based on that site plan again, we did prepare a mitigation plan, or update the mitigation plan. That shows trees to be removed, additional trees and shrubs to be placed. Now, we do show specific locations on the plan for where those trees would be, but there are a number of trees still out there on the site that would remain. So these new trees and shrubs would kind of be placed in between to, enhance the buffer that exists between the new driveway and I'll call it a water course, an intermittent water course, for lack of a better term, but the ditch that connects that takes runoff from that driveway to the adjacent house, as well as the runoff coming down the hill from this residence.
Is this over here?
Yeah, that's it there. So, and I think that kind of covers it. We were asked for alternatives. I think we've provided those to you, but the site walk I think was very helpful just in terms of seeing what's actually going on out there. The area, with the exception of those couple of trees that would come out, is lawn leading right up to to this proposed driveway. There's not a lot of tree clearing that goes on that needs to be done to create that new driveway. And the number of trees and shrubs that would be planted, again, to enhance the buffer and to add some trees to offset the trees that are gonna be cut. And again, the other comment we heard was, well, can we at least get that infiltration system? It was shown on the original plans as being partly in the wetland as it was flagged. So the engineers kind of moved it a couple of feet out just to be outside the wetland. I just want to remind everyone, if anyone wasn't at the site walk, what we have here is a small depressional area. It's unclear how that was formed or what created it, lined with river rock, which may have been a landscape feature from a previous owner or the property owner next door. That's wet enough during certain times of the year to support some wetland vegetation. And then that overflows to a channel, which during storm events, which flows to a culvert underneath the existing driveway and the offsite. So, talk about a relatively, other than the conveyance function of it, conveying stormwater, we're talking about a relatively low function wetland system.
There's nothing across the driveway from here now? It all comes down, either picked up here or picked up in here?
I think there's existing footing drains discharge into that ditch. There's a small pipe out there that discharges into the ditch as well. The existing conditions plan may show it.
Are you asking where the drainage from the house?
No, just the water that's coming down.
What happens to the water?
Obviously, I wasn't at the water.
Right, it runs across the existing driveway in heavy storms, enters that ditch, and then flows that way.
It flows this way.
Yes.
Okay.
To a culvert.
To a culvert right about here, there's a culvert that goes under the road.
It's under
This
the
is sort of
neighbor's
low
driveway.
line in the rear.
So is that culvert gonna be kept remaining, or
It's under the neighbor's
Abandoned?
driveway.
it's under the neighbor's driveway?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. It flows to here and then it culverts this way.
So it's still being picked up at the bottom of this square?
Yes.
I'm only asking because it doesn't show.
Off site, that's why it doesn't show.
Yeah, sheet two shows
There's yours.
15-inch CMP.
Here's the neighbor's driveway right here.
Right.
So that culvert right there picks up the water coming through there. And
So the inlet is remaining?
is remaining, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
So there won't be any
it makes
change.
sense, whoever created this, right, whoever lived here, it makes all the sense in the world, created this so that the water flows. People like to move, channelize, pipe, nobody likes sheet flow, I want it off as fast as I can, so, but over time, like to Steve's point, and the way our code is written, obviously DEC didn't take jurisdiction, I got that letter, so thank you.
Yeah.
But the way our code is written, the system that this flows into underneath that pipe is a nice wetland system. So there's just hydrologic connection in the way our code is written, how they define water courses and how we have. I couldn't
So
exclude it.
You're okay with it?
Yes, that's why I said this needs to be wrapped in and to show the buffer and.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And our goal, our goal is to maintain the flows to that off-site wetland, the same way they are now. But we are capturing and treating now runoff off the house and the driveway that wasn't being captured before, so this is a little bit of an enhancement for water quality leaving the site as well.
Right, and the overland flow that's over lawn is the overland flow that's over lawn, so that'll
That's
get
not
there.
there.
Yep.
You picking up the house leaders?
Yes.
Dennis?
Is there any concern that the mitigation is less than 1-to-1?
Well, I think, I asked sort of for a description of that, but, there are elements of this project that are in the buffer that are now being pushed out of the buffer, so that's, I have to give you some credit for that, right? And so
I'm
that
not,
was for that in the
with
garage.
respect to this project, I don't
Yeah.
have a concern, I just don't wanna create a precedent that's gonna give us problems going forward.
Right, well, it's like a dual, I agree with Steve's point, like as far as the dual mitigation in terms of, you're enhancing where you can with respect to planting, and then the fact that, granted it required under chapter, I guess, 108A to pick up the stormwater, so that would have been, if hypothetically, because some applicants fall into this category. Well, we don't have to do stormwater because we're under 1,000 square feet. And that is true under stormwater, but the ERB or the planning board could still say, well, that's great, but we still want, further mitigation in the form of enhancement of water quality.
Which is
whatever.
perfectly
So
understandable,
you're-
and why we're showing that,
So you're doing that.
it's just a harder thing to quantify by the square foot. Water quality treatment is a system, it's not really a square foot kind of.
Right, so
improvement
the fact that, you are getting credit for that two-pronged
Yeah.
approach. The only thing I'm gonna say, and I'm glad that you moved it, is just, cause I'm gonna do this for the benefit of the engineers too, who, like, we've gone back and forth on. Before, any of the project starts, obviously, one, with respect to the trees, I'll need those marked, just so that we know, yep, these are coming down, these are not, so the person who fires up the chainsaw knows what's going on. And two, I would want this wetland marked such that this entire storm system will be placed outside of that. So whether it be snow fencing or whatever, so there's no bite from machinery that's, going into the wetland and because I just want stormwater out of the wetland, just
Yep.
the principle. That's kind
I
of
know
what
that
would
I spoke to the engineer today, I know that our project engineer, I know that they're working out final details with the town engineers for that.
Right,
system.
right.
But we will, any condition that says snow fencing, some kind of delineation of where the wetland is, so that all disturbance happens outside of there.
Right,
It's not an
because
issue.
the soil testing that you did here, and I verified this with the engineer, I said, so, hypothetically, I'm just, if this got moved this way and moved that way, so like 5 feet over and 5 feet up, does that trigger new soil testing? And he looked at me like, no, and I said, I didn't think so, like soils and geology don't really change that drastically over such short distances, so.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing about this, Dennis, is that when they did the soil testing out there, it was very deep and very dry and percolated just fine. So the wetland that we're looking at here is not something that's groundwater driven, it's just surface runoff, surface flow coming down towards that spot. So we're here this evening to hear what you have to say and hope for a positive outcome to what's been a number of months of working through this project.
Dennis, how are you,
And now-
we're not really discussing this, I don't think, but how are you happy with tree replacement?
So I ended up calculating that I requested 20 replaced trees and they proposed 20 replaced trees. And they were all native species, there was a distribution. Some of them they're planting closer to the ditch, others they're kind of going up on either side of the site. So I thought that was a reasonable distribution, because obviously the site has some slope challenges and some rock outcrop challenges, and I know, unless you're a lichen, it's hard to plant a tree in those, so.
Okay.
So that's reasonable.
I mean, I personally really appreciated the tour and it helped make great sense of the project and didn't have a lot of concerns on site at all. I understood really how you got here, and have to work with you.
And I appreciate that you took the time to look at the alternatives and see, what could happen, what couldn't happen. Makes our job easier.
This is just one silly question. I wasn't there, sorry.
What's your conflict?
Okay, your concrete washout area?
Mhm.
I see a depression and dumping it in. Is it gonna be removed afterwards?
Yes, those are temporary erosion controls, just doing, while they're pouring the slabs.
As opposed to a container, I'm
Yes.
talking about. So, you don't let it just seep through.
No.
Is there anything you think we should look further at this before we move on? And I'm looking at it from our wives after all these many months together.
Let you get on your way.
So I mean, I know for the things that seem to, default to me since, the late Dr. Flink has been on the board. Like I said, I'm okay with the plantings that are proposed. Obviously, the stormwater it may be a requirement under another code, but it certainly is a mitigative component here, especially, because underneath the culvert underneath the driveway, I mean, it's a nice system on the other side, so I feel that any enhancements here with respect to what really was just designed as a, granted mostly overland flow, but certainly picking up some of the house as a, stormwater conveyance, I think will, benefit from, the plantings that they proposed and, would raise its function a bit as being just more than a stormwater ditch. As I said, my only concern was, and I'm going up to the Clean Water Act, I'm like, you can't put stormwater in existing wetlands, regardless if they're in the worst quality wetlands surrounded by porcelain I just, for principle, just move that, and that was my only concern. You're far enough away, that's why you're showing the distance, I can't remember what it is, because I'm not the engineer, but the distance from the septic to the
Yes.
So the stormwater, that separation, which is important. Those worlds are not allowed to mix.
Alright, well, if there's nothing, I hear a motion to move on. And accept, take this baby on.
Motion to approve the current plan and the mitigation plan as proposed.
All in favor?
Woo-hoo.
We did it in 2025. It happened this year.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I wasn't sure it was gonna
Special meeting, I thought.
For the Tennessee. I remember that the trees had.
We had it kind of on the last time other than us.
So I think I had mentioned to you, when
The guy with the
when you're ready to get a building permit, that's when the trees need to be removed.
So it's conditionally approved right now.
Right, so what I'll do is, I have to draft a permit,
On 7 different counties.
I'll have some conditions in that permit, like I said, marking the trees that are gonna be removed,
But yeah, you put the ribbon on, right?
exactly, that's what I need.
I think we
Clinton
have it
Corners.
marked.
We have it with their
Yeah.
they required like that.
Are the minutes gonna show up?
Yeah, because once the guys fire us, it changes those, so we'll be for those.
No, the minutes are just.
We're using Walter, so.
Oh, you're very well.
Yeah, he knows, I think very well. I
The
want to
actual
show that.
There's always more transfer, that's good.
He's gonna, I think he marked more on Washington.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That's the next town over.
That's good, and then obviously,
No,
she
you
pointed
can
out,
ask it, absolutely.
the erosion
Excuse
control,
me.
so you need silt fencing and.
Excuse me, what alternative was approved?
The preferred
Proposed
alternative.
one?
Preferred.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else, do we have a date for the next meeting?
Yeah, you have a date of December 15th, right now there's no
By the
applications.
homeowners.
But
I don't know.
at the December 2nd planning board meeting, Sabrina's memo is recommending 76 Whippoorwill Lake Road possibly be reviewed by the ERB, so I don't know,
That's the one
the
part of
turnaround will happen that fast.
That's the part of
It's the
the,
one we will,
it's the one we just did.
it's ours, it's not an alternative.
Well,
It's not.
I think the date's important.
So according to this, the date would be last revised
We're up to.
10/14/2025.
Yes, that's correct.
Received on 10/14/2025.
Yep.
So that would be the record.
That was, yeah,
Great, yeah.
that's the right.
That's right, you're an engineer, right?
He's an
Yeah,
engineer.
They would do that.
Last call for questions, complaints, concerns?
No,
You're supposed to bring cookies, that's what you.
No, there's no cookies, no cookies up. Motion to close, let's do it.
Second.
Okay, great, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for waiting.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.